What's up, everybody? Hello. Hello, everybody. How are you? Are you my fans? If you're my fans, I'm yours too. And if you're not, fuck. Just kidding. All right. So, so what? So what? What the? All right. So stay there, dude. You're out of the picture. You're out of the picture for now. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to our stream. This is analysis stream, my least popular but probably most instructive stream, where we actually analyze chess games properly, and that's the best way to improve. People ask me all the time, how should I get better? What should I do to get better? Analyze master games and your own games in depth. People are inherently lazy. They think that watching YouTube videos is going to make them, you know, bad YouTube streamers or videos by bad or random players is going to make them better at chess or poker or whatever. No. You have to actively train, analyze. If you can analyze position, that's really the most important skill to develop in chess. If you can analyze position, you can evaluate a position properly, you can probably figure out the right plan and win a lot of games. So, all right, I've got a game from Uber Driver. This is Bulgalyabov versus Capablanca. I got a game from subscriber Sun Prism. I've got a game I put in there myself, and I've got another game from another subscriber, Iatan. So we've got 4 games in the study thus far, and I think it'll be a few minutes here before people really start to grow into a large crowd, so that we can protest the federal government. No. I was just noticing one thing, though. You go to leadchess.org. Where is it now? Let's see. Play, puzzles, learn, watch, community. Where was it? Tournaments. Tournament shields. I was noticing this. You know, what's interesting to me is like there seems to be a real drop off in like strong players necessarily playing on lead chess. Whereas we had a real influx of grandmasters during COVID and whatnot. It looks like it's kind of died a little bit. I mean, there's no strong players in these shield tournaments. The only tournament players there are like for the, I don't know, the monthly tournament or whatever. All right, the Beale International Chess Festival. Wow, 373 viewers for live tournament broadcast. That's a record. Okay, let's go back though. Seriously, things have been slow here, and I think it's not just me. It's not just my stream. It's like lead chess in general is not getting better, possibly getting worse by default. Agad Mator streaming Lotus Chess July Arena. Well, interesting. I don't know what that is or where that is, but we're going up against the big Agad Mator. Welcome everybody. So we're gonna start here, learn, study. You know, it's hard to compete with the Grandmaster. So we've got, all right, Yefim, not FM, but Yefim Bulgalyabov against Jose Raul Capablanca. Let's give people a couple minutes together. We have 2 viewers, so that's pretty sad. I'm not gonna start analyzing games with 2 viewers. Why do I have 2 viewers? We are streaming. But nobody's on Lichess. They claim Lichess claims, right? Where is it now? It shows that. Where does it show that here? No? Where can I see the number of players on the site? There's a place where I can see that. How do I see that again? Go to leadchess.org main page. They claim there's 98,000 players online. I'm sort of questioning that. You know, I don't know what that means, but I don't think so. 48,000 games in play. I have some serious doubts about that. All right. So anyway, hopefully some of our followers were gathered here. Otherwise, I'm gonna go play poker. All right, back to our study. We can do a puzzle streak a little bit here. Oh, good. King on a6. Very safe. Oh, the puzzle stream. Yeah. So I think this is just to take the rook type of situation. Don't likely see a mate here. Queen c4. Queen c4 looks like a dead end. Queen c4, king b7. What do we have? A6 check. Black has king c6 there, followed by, yeah, at the very minimum, king c6 followed by queen a4 check, king d6. So it has to be queen takes the rook. It's not. It is queen c4 check. Weird. That is surprising. I lost my puzzle streak right here on the stream. That is very surprising. I was fairly certain that I was right about this. Wow. So where's the win after king b7? King b7, queen b5 check. I missed it. Okay. I straight up missed it. Why can't I take the rook, by the way? That's the other thing that's sort of mind-boggling here. I assume by default this has to be good, but it's not good. But why? My queen's not trapped. It is trapped. So I'm not calculating. You don't have material. No, I mean, the problem is I forgot his rook was protected. And I would have dismissed this whole line. I'm not really calculating. Anyway, all right. So, analysis stream. Yeah, this is how we get warmed up. I was playing Mahjong earlier, but that doesn't help with my chess. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not waking up tactically. Like, it takes time. Instantly, it takes time. I didn't see the rook was protected. I didn't see queen b5 check. I only looked at a6, so I'm missing important candidate moves. I'm missing the fact that his rook is defended on h8. So the queen is absolutely trapped after bishop b7. Very bad calculation by me. All right, so play puzzles learn. Iyatan, you're here. I've got my study, and we're analyzing games. Every Thursday, I do this analysis stream. There doesn't seem to be anyone here yet, except for you. I know you sent me a game, and I got another game from Sun Prism. I also got another game from Uber Driver, and I put in my own analysis game. So let's wait, another minute or two, see if someone shows up. If not, I'll cancel the stream now. By the way, interesting question. Bagalyabov, Capablanca, 1928. This is from tournament in Bad Kissingen in 28. Okay, so really in the middle of World War I and World War II. The close to the Depression. Things were looking good in 1928, huh? Germany. So Bagalyabov versus Capablanca, I noticed something interesting. D4, knight f6, c4, e6. Capablanca was pretty much Queen's Gambit or Nimzo, Queen's Indian. That's what you're gonna get with Capablanca. Bogo plays knight f3, black plays b6, as to be expected, and now white plays knight c3. And I like how this is called, according to Lichess, the Kasparov or Kasparov variation. Gligorich called it the flexible variation because of its transpositional possibilities. It's interesting if you're going to try to call this the Kasparov variation. There's a slight problem that Kasparov played a lot of a3. Now maybe they they'll refer to like specifically here. I don't know. Yeah, so here they're calling this Kasparov-Petrosian variation. And if we just play a3 right away, I move 4. That's interesting. That's interesting. So a3 immediately I know as the Petrosian variation, but I never really stopped to think about this specifically. Knight c3, bishop b7, a3 being the so-called Kasparov-Petrosian variation. Okay, so that's different from this move 4, knight c3. Obviously allowing black to go back into a Nimzo, which I like. And I think, personally, it's my favorite move in this position, bishop e4. I think if you can do it, you do it. And it's the most dynamic move for black here. I mean, we only have 2 moves. So it's the better of the 2. It takes away white's chance to play a3. And, yeah, but I didn't realize this was specifically a3. Bishop b7, a3 is Kasparov-Petrosian. Okay. So anyways, flexible variation. They're calling this Kasparov variation. But, you know, Kasparov played a lot of g3 to follow up. So if I play bishop b4, Gary's not going to play bishop d2, right? If I play bishop b4, g3 is actually not a common move here. I mean, there are no Kasparov games. Well, there might be, but they'd be older. Okay. But, I mean, no, he would outrate these other guys. He would be in the list here if Kasparov played this line with white. So that's interesting. You know, which makes me think that Kasparov doing what? Like knight c3, responding to the Nimzo with knight f3. Do we see any Kasparov games here? Well, Carlsen's hogged all the games, so you'd think that Kasparov would outrate him, though. It's average rating, though. It's by average rating. Yeah, I'm not sure about Kasparov's move order, necessarily. Preferred move order. Anyway, this is just speculation while I wait for some more people to show up. Okay, now we have 7 viewers. Wow! Bring your grandma. Bring your friends. Choose to watch a streamer who actually educates you, okay? If you want to get better at chess, I'm sorry, but you got to choose me over, you know, who or whoever, those other idiots. All right, b6, knight c3, and now black probably should play bishop b4, because honestly, a3 is a good move. Statistically, it's almost equal, 3.7k to 3k, but I prefer bishop b4. Let's see what the engine says. Yeah, it definitely goes for bishop g4. Bishop b4. Bishop g4 is highly illegal. That would be a nice Park Hustler trick. So, bishop b4 is not played. Capablanca plays bishop b7. He likes the Queen's Indian, but a3 is a very good move here. It's the best move here. I've also faced g3, which is solid. What do we call that? We're back to, yeah, it's still Kasparov variation. But a3 I would recommend wholeheartedly for white. e3 is obviously a solid line too. But Bulgaria plays bishop g5. Now this move is a very classical variation. But I always like playing against it. Now here, as opposed to the Nimzo, you have options that are more solid than playing bishop b4. You can transpose the Nimzo with bishop b4, and that's a good line. But in addition, you can play the safe bishop e7 or h6 as well. So what does Capablanca do? I'm expecting Capablanca to play something safe, right? He's Capablanca. Hello, sir. Sire. Meisel. Messy, messy, messy. So, yeah, the on-field coach, he's called. I was sorry to see poor France lose. On-field coach. But England lost. No big deal. I really thought that England would probably do better, but coach got a lot of criticism. All right, Bishop G5. Yeah, Capablanca plays a safe move. I wouldn't. I would play Bishop B4. H6 is clearly okay. White doesn't want to give away this bishop for like practically nothing. So, but Kappa is Kappa. He plays Bishop B7. Bugalyabov plays E3, and now Black plays like sort of Tony and Miles-esque here with knight E4. But this move makes a lot of sense. You're trading pieces, and White's space advantage means a little bit less. What's up, Camel Culture? National Master, by the way. He's achieved National Master. You don't have material. Howdy. What's up, Zeus? So, oh, wait. Okay, when is the soccer? Sunday? Is it Saturday or Sunday? Soccer game. Soccer final. Oh, there's a playoff, right? So there's a third place playoff, which is sort of stupid, but it fills in the schedule. When is that? Like today or tomorrow? Maybe tomorrow? No, Saturday. Okay. That's so weird though. It's like they do that in chess too, right? Okay. Bugalyabov White. So now bishop takes e7 and knight takes c3 is no good because the bishop takes d8, knight takes d1, bishop takes c7, and the bishop emerges. So Black has to take back. White takes. Now he doesn't have to, but I mean the knight's quite strong on e4. So knight takes e4, and now this is Tal Karpov draw, of course. Bishop takes e4, and here, yeah, if I was playing like Miles, he would play like bishop d3 and like kill me. I mean, we had a game pretty much like this, I remember. Real simple position, but if you're good in technical positions like Magnus or something, Magnus could play bishop d3 and probably beat almost anyone. There's a technical problem there with queen b4 check. Bishop d3, queen b4 check. Queen d2. Yeah, it's not really a problem for black. Queen e2 and white is better. So the main move is bishop e2, which is passive but solid. And, part of the idea would be to counter here that Queen's Indian. Problem in the Queen's Indian is if the bishop gets traded, you're left with these weak squares, like in the long run, which might not seem like a big deal, but in my experience, it is kind of a big deal. Like I can lose a game to a grandmaster very easily based on like one or two weak squares. So I would play bishop d3. In that event, more players did play queen b4 check. This is safe. Queen b4 check, queen d2, draw a Vil. I don't know what Capablanca would have done. I think he probably would like trade on d3. Hard to say. But he obviously, wants to try to win. But anyway, Tartakover doesn't do that. He plays knight d2. This is an aggressive move. Not a safe move. This is an aggressive move. You open up the bishop's pressure against g2. What are you going to do? Are you going to sacrifice your pawn on g2? Maybe. So if the bishop goes back to b7, I want to introduce an idea here. Is there room? Is there room? We have room. You're a subscriber. Be a subscriber. Zeus, thanks for being a subscriber. Guys, don't forget to make subscribers. Camel Culture, your sister always streams and says, I like to make chess or whatever in her profile. I like to make subscribers. Make subscribers. 92. There's this idea, which is seen from time to time. Bishop g6. That's always very awkward for black. We normally want to go back to b7, but I just want to point something out. If black plays bishop b7, which he does, the obvious question is, well, white can build the center with e4, but what's the problem with this? Isn't this great? White has a space advantage. Not so great for white. Not so great. This is the thing. Like, not all space advantages are created equal. White has space, but he has weakness on the dark squares because there's no dark square bishops. They're traded off. And so, particularly Moms for Liberty, not happy with the Black Lives Matter. Control of d4, right? Mickey Mouse shape on the board. But that's a very hollow position. That's not good for white because you're going to get knight c6, e5, like any number of bad things on the dark squares. So ultimately it raises the question, like, and I'll try to phrase this as politely as possible, what the fuck is white's plan, right? Maybe he's going to sacrifice the g2 pawn. So I'm thinking on bishop b7, we go bishop somewhere, bishop e2 or bishop d3. It's a very ambitious idea by white. I don't really like it, you know. I don't think this is a great idea. Knight d2 in the first place was a bad idea. So he goes bishop e2, and see, Capablanca's not an idiot. You could take on g2, but I mean, what are you going to do after rook g1? You can't go here. So you have to retreat back probably all the way. And then white has rook takes g7. I don't know. I mean, maybe this is so bad for black, but it looks like white's threatening bishop h5. So anyway, it's like hope. Basically, Tartakover. I keep thinking it's Tartakover. I said it again, didn't I? I always confuse Bogayabov with Tartakover. Anyways, bishop b7. They have long, weird names. Bishop b7, bishop b2. Bogayabov, aggressive player. He's an attacking player. You know, he doesn't want a boring draw, right? Bishop e2. Bishop takes b7. Bishop b7 takes g2. Not good. But this is hope chess by white. Sort of. Because, you know, if I take, okay, you get a good position. But on queen g5, what Capablanca plays now, what is he going to do after bishop f3? So here are a bunch of good players. Let's say 400 players. They all castled for black. But Kappa played queen g5, and no one repeated that move. Yes, castles is safe, but white is like fully equal after bishop f3, I would assume. So this is a very almost spectacular move by Capablanca. What is white going to do? You have to play bishop f3. e4 is bad. Anything else is bad. You have to play bishop f3. So what's Capablanca's idea, though? Like, why play queen g5 if white can just play bishop f3? That's the million-dollar question. So I'm thinking that Capablanca must have some sort of outside-the-box idea here. I mean, is he just playing queen g5? So bishop f3, queen f3, knight c6. And he's fine? Maybe. Just trades pieces, plays knight c6. That's what happened. You know, I've never seen this game, I don't believe. But there's also the possibility of not exchanging bishops, I guess. If you want to be really aggressive here. Probably not really Capablanca style. So he swaps pieces first, forcing this capture. But I mean, the thing about Capablanca we can learn from is like his understanding of principles and simplicity. A little bit similar to Magnus in that sense. Knight c6, so he's traded two sets of pieces. And while Queen g5 looked like a really aggressive move, I'm still on the fence about it. Those guys who castled, they might have been right. But what are we going to do now after White finds a strong move, Queen g3? I I don't love this moment. I mean, violent aggression with like Queen a5 sacking a pawn. That's spec. It's just, yeah, it's speculative at best. So he has to trade queens. So I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced I like Queen g5. I think that White is fine now. And then probably we shouldn't have even bothered to play Queen g5. We probably should just castle like these other guys. Did Queen g5 really accomplish anything, ultimately, other than trading on White's terms? I think this helps White a tiny bit. Anyway, Black's fine. King e7, very good move. But honestly, I can't say that White is worse here. The H file compensates for the double pawns. He's fine. Now White makes a very interesting move. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious if there was any way Black could sack a pawn here with like Queen a5 or something, but there's several issues, right? There's this. This move deserves consideration actually if you want to be stubborn about it, but it could lead to complications to say the least. Queen takes c7, queen takes g2. I kind of like this, but I'm not sure because this can happen later. What's the evaluation? Engine says zeros. So queen g6 is funny. It's a patient move. Um, let's see what the engine thinks. It's on the fence. It thinks White is a tiny bit better. I think that Kappa mildly messed up. Another interesting move is this, same idea. Playing, so maybe Queen takes g3 was a little bit unnecessary. Takes King e7, and now g4 because White doesn't want Black to fix his double pawns. I think g4 is a good move. Now Black plays h6, the same sort of reason, like you don't want to see g5, and now White plays a3, and now an interesting move by Capablanca. This is a very equal position, but how does Magnus Carlsen constantly win equal positions like this? How does Capablanca win an equal position like this? So-called equal position. How do we get the upper hand in a so-called equal position, for Grandmaster World Champion? 1928. Was Capablanca World Champion at this time? A3. I'm not that good with dates. Make chess. That's what I said. Make imbalances. Capablanca doesn't need huge imbalances, just little tiny ones. But this is kind of an interesting move. You got the Basmania here. A3, H3, H6, A6. But what's the idea? Well, he wants to meet B4 with B5. Again, sort of trading pawns toward the center. I think that's a cool idea. So, but Galiba's like, nah, I wasn't that serious about B4. All right, if B4, B5 looks okay for Black. So White also plays King E2. Position is equal. And now watch what happens. Definitely a little bit outside the box now. I don't think a lot of people here would have played this move. Rook HB8. I don't know that it's the best move. It's an interesting idea. He's clearly intending to play b5. That's pretty obvious. a4, anyone? You don't want to give Capablanca the b4 square, right? There's no way that white is worse here. I'm sorry. So white plays knight e4, which is very provocative. I don't understand knight e4. I guess he wants to get the knight back on c3. But, black's clearly going to play b5. Maybe he should actually play b4 and then black, is going to go b5 and we lock it up or not. Maybe something else. Rook c1. This looks interesting. I guess black has to face the reality of this pawn. bc4, knight c4, a5. Wow. He actually can do that. I didn't think he could do that because of this. That's best line. Knight a5. Check this out. So knight a5, knight a5 takes. Now we have in between move, rook b2 check. And c6 even, potentially. c6. If white tries to hang on to the pawn with rook c5. Camel culture. This would have been interesting, though, honestly. I don't like knight e4 by white. It's like your opponent is clearly going to play b5, undermining c4. And what do you intend to do about it? Are you going to play c5? He plays c5, allowing b4. So I'm expecting here, I'm expecting this. But that's, well, I don't think it's bad, b4. But it's also not forced. The Capablanca makes, for me, like a very slightly surprising move here. d5. I thought he would play a5. a5 or b4. b4 is playable because if white takes, the b2 pawn is very weak. Though it would worsen black structure. So, like b4 takes, rook a2, rook b8, rook hb1, a5. But the b2 pawn is weaker than the a pawn. But he plays this. This is kind of surprising, no? Yeah, Benko. Very deep thoughts with camel culture. Benko. Channeling his inner Benko. This is a counterintuitive move. What's Capablanca thinking? He's not like a fierce Kasparovian killer, right? He doesn't hate his opponents. I'm not sure this is the best winning try for black necessarily. It almost feels like a kind of safe move because you're basically inducing white to take here, trading off his most powerful pawn on c5. So how is Bagaibov going to lose, right? Well, I'll give you a hint. C takes d6, check, C takes d6, and now the next move is like, what are you doing? The number one way to lose at chess, anybody? My experience, or anything, being overconfident. Never be overconfident. I don't care if you're a little bit fearful. Fear is there for a reason. Blunder. Overconfidence leads to mistakes, and mistakes leads to losing games. What the fuck is f4, man? I can't really describe how much I dislike this move. If anything's gonna go wrong here, you're playing against Capablanca. Your position is like equal, but you need to kind of be careful. But Bagayev wasn't careful. F4, bro. You're under the mistaken like concession that you're better or something here. White should be okay if he just plays safely. I'm not saying play for a draw, but like F4 is like irrational. What is he doing? Like weakening himself? What the heck is the upside of F4? You gonna attack with F5, play G5? I just don't really get it, you know? All it does is seem weakening. This seems like a terrible move. F4. Now black has like a free hand. It looks like a Caro Kann. See, it's not a Biko anymore. I was even thinking, you know what? I mean, even D5 needs to be considered. Unfortunately, this would lead to the sacrifice of a pawn. Not to say that it's not possible, though, right? Takes, knight c3. I mean, I thought that's one of the reasons why he put his guy there. But I think check. This is okay. I mean, d5 probably just, it doesn't come back. Okay. d5 is even worse. So what should white do? Like take the c file here. Black's obviously got rook c8 or king d7. Position is basically equal. Watch this. Equal 0-0. Now, I have not analyzed this game before, guys. I am not like cheating or, but I'm going to tell you that white's advantage is going to drop when we play f4. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. White's evaluation is going to drop. Minus 0.1. I'm surprised it didn't drop by more. Still, 1/10 of a pawn is a significant amount in an endgame. White's position just got worse when he played f4, but only by 1/10 of a pawn. Still, it's a big deal. 1/10 of a pawn at the grandmaster or master level. But it's like, why? Why would you play f4? What the heck does that do? It seems stupid. Okay, at best it loses time. Rook c8. Yeah, so now we see what his plan was. Check this out. f5. Okay, for the first time, I see an actual plan for white. So it appears this was the plan, something involving like f6 check, which I completely overlooked. But it's still, it's definitely reckless. It weakens all of his pawns. Look at all of his pawns now. This is weak. This is weak. This is weak. This is weak. The damage that you're doing in your position, it's like the frying pan into the fire kind of thing. You're doing more damage to your position than you're doing to the opponent's position. Like he might break up Capablanca here with f6, but ultimately you've destroyed your own pawn structure even worse, So Kappa calmly plays knight a5 with several ideas here, here, here. He's obviously shitting himself. And now we see what might be a reasonable move. King d3. Definitely better than f3. So the king guards c2, keeping black off the 7th rank. And it's not that easy to attack it on d3. This seems like a good move. Now, the downside is this. Annoyingly attacking b2. So that is a problem. Now we have to babysit our pawn with our rook. And I was actually wondering about rook a2 here. So if we play rook a2, we can play b3 thereafter. The rook defends the pawn on a3, allowing for b3. You played rook b1, but then you can't play b3 because the pawn on a3 hangs. What the heck? Doesn't he have to play rook a2 here? Isn't it better to be overconfident than under? I don't think so. I don't know. If you got to go one way or the other, I think it's better to be a little bit more defensive. My personal opinion. You don't want to be like outright passive, but if you have to, I don't know. It's okay to be a little bit passive and solid, especially if you're playing a stronger player. I mean, I think that's kind of normal. You don't want to take as many risks, but Bob is playing like recklessly against a stronger player, where he should probably be more careful. So now Rook A B1, but why? Why not Rook A2? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. Where is the knight going? D5 allows knight C5. That's out of the question. When he plays B3, Black can back up with knight A5. So I figure Capo here plays something like Rook A7 or Rook C7, threatening to double on the C file. So let's say, for example, Black plays Rook C7, White plays B3, Black goes knight A5, attacking the pawn here. White has a lot of different ways to protect that pawn. 3. Presuming this is bad, because a permanent outpost is bad in a Slav structure. So here, how bad is that? Well, it's not that bad. It's probably not that bad. I mean, Black's knight is on the side of the board on A5. That's kind of a good thing. So I think this is a clear mistake by White. Rook A, B1. Now your rook is paralyzed. Now it occurs to me that there's one solution for White, but it's not one that Bob is going to like, like trading knights with knight here, but I don't like that either. I mean, if we play here, Black can still maintain the knight on C4. Only the pawn can kick it out from the outpost. This looks like a very serious mistake. Very serious mistake. This is like necessary. No, or you could go Rook HB1. Also reasonable, actually. As long as you keep the A pawn protected. That's the key. So, subtle mistakes here by White. Now after this, you can't get rid of the knight on C4. And an utterly shocking move by Capablanca now. But this must be based on some sort of tactical consideration I missed. He played D5. Huh? Okay. This is complex. I don't know about this move. White has knight C5. Yeah, Black has E5. Pawn takes F5. Knight D6 type stuff is in the air. Maybe knight D6 immediately, but isn't this playable for White? Yeah, it's not clear. There's even knight E5 check, a really neat move, which very likely Capablanca would have found that. That must have probably been why. That's a really cool move. All right, I missed this. Knight E5 check. A lot going on here behind the scenes. So this move probably picking off the pawn on G4 if White doesn't take, and if he takes, he has a really crap structure after Rook takes C5. So that's why D5 was a smart move. Knight C3, and now Rook C6. You can't get rid of the outpost knight on C4. When was the Aliaki and Capablanca World Championship match? Does anybody recall? Exactly, Camel Culture. Idol's lyrics. So, Rook C6. Now White plays F takes E6. Although I don't really know why. Don't know why. Why? Why take on E6? It's hard to call. It seems like dubious. I mean, black can never hang this pawn on d5, so I don't see the reason to release the tension here. Take, and now g5. This is apparently why. But Bagayeva's playing like a Potzer kind of coffee house player. Again, overconfident. Takes. And now we're expecting rook h7. Couple would calmly defend. I don't know, king f6 or something. This doesn't work, man. This is just bullshit overconfidence. It's just like somebody, Capablanca playing in like 2026 on Lead Chess would have won the same way. It looks like he's playing one of the people from my stream or something. White just totally overconfident, like he's playing some Potzer. Okay, why did White do all this? What did White do? Did he miss king f6? He missed king f6. That's not hard to see. Does he think he has e4 or something? But even if he does, we can defend it with like rook d8. It doesn't look like White has any way to attack the black king here. This is just terrible, dude. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. And that's how Magnus wins, you know? You don't know history? What kind of history? The concert I went to last week? All right. King f6, rook h3. Rook a c8. Consistent, threatening knight takes b2 check. So this is like a massacre. It went from... Yeah, this is beautiful. You know? He just massacred him with paper cuts. Knight d1 now? What are you going to play? Oh, even better, knight a2. Bagayeva played knight a2 now. This is not going well. Oh my god. Ugh. a5, there's a shocker, right? And now White is lost. Rook f3 check, king g6. Game over. We're up a double pawn, but we're paralyzing the opponent. This is sick. Yeah, nice selection by Uber Driver. Uber Driver, or was it Drown the Clown? Same person. They sent us in. Yeah, it's a really nice game. A crisp, subtle little punishment of a reckless, overconfident opponent. G4. Actually, typical Capablanca too, because he didn't play the opening perfectly. Looks like Queen G5 was kind of weird. It wasn't the best. And now, how do we finish him off? Well, some sort of E5 is in the air. E5 looks really scary. With E5, we're threatening E4. There's a problem with rook F5, maybe. I don't love that. Not crazy about rook F5. Probably why he doesn't go E5 here. This square. So, black playing 96. The computer says rook H8. This is obviously a good move too. You've got, ooh, mate. Very strong. Rook H8 is good. Cheesy Noob is dead here against Capablanca. This is a slight inaccuracy. Okay, lets him off the hook to some degree. Knight C3. And now B4. Takes. Knight D1, which I thought he would go there in the first place. This is suboptimal. And now again, it looks like you got that rook H8 thing the computer was wrapping last move. Rook C2, this is also okay. And now who wants to trade pieces? B3. This is just a massacre. Just the work of art. totally devastated. White is just totally devastated. It's amazing he continues this game like 5 more moves. Rook A1. Oh, that hurts. And now rook E2. There's no mate here. So now Capablanca is like concerned. He's concerned about rook A6 or something. I'm sure there's 100 ways for black to win here. I don't think rook A6 is a threat. So the following move is like very hesitant. But I guess white is kind of in Zugzwang, more or less. So it may not matter. Rook B1. A million ways for black to win here. And finally, he guarded against rook A6, I guess. I don't know. Then he played E5. That's very cool. That's a stylish move. I would think that white... Very stylish move. White is facing like knight F2. What is he facing? Knight F2? What exactly is black threatening now? Move the knight in E4 mate, but you don't have that. It's not easy to see how he gets to play E4, actually. Because white could sack the knight back with like knight E4, although we would win the exchange, right? Just, if it was black's move here, knight F2 check, knight F2, E4 check, knight takes E4, pawn takes E4 check, king takes E4, and rook takes E2. Okay, we're up a rook. Wow. That's a problem. So we're threatening knight F2 check, essentially. So now I'm a little bit confused. White played rook A1. And why don't we have this? Well, because we probably have something better. This should win, right? Knight F2 check, knight F2, E4, knight E4, pawn E4, king E4, rook takes. But Capablanca finds something better after rook A1. Here, threatening the evil knight C5 check followed by E4 mate, or pawn takes pawn, knight C5 mate. This is just brutal. Encasing white's position in the coffin on D3. And now white played rook A5. Oh no. Alright, yeah. I can see how Overdrive would be attracted to this game. But I think rather than the elegant finish, what we need to be paying attention to in this game is the interim, the middle game, where, again, it was like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Bagalyabov played overconfident and reckless chess, which is very typical of people today. Alright, and then climate culture. And climate culture. Alright. Bikar Nagar. Erman. So if you stream with your sister, you're like hermano, hermana. Stupid jokes. You get this all the time. I know. All right. So event. I don't get it with people who have like hyphenated names. Like, how do you stop it? You know, like once it starts, how do these hyphenated names work? I mean, I don't mean to be like, you know, anti-PC, but how does the hyphenating of names end? Like, wouldn't you just end up with like endless names that are like hyphenated 10 times? Where do you cut it off? It's like arbitrary. It doesn't make sense. Baker Nagar. Baker Nagar Herman. Baker Nagar Herman Pascal. Baker Nagar Herman Kasparov. Where does it end? It doesn't end. All right. 2 Caveman play chess. Great. Oh, I was really looking forward to a Caveman game. Thank God we got one. Are you worse than Bagalyabov? So, learn, study, my studies. What was it yesterday? Oh, yesterday I was streaming and I was subtly insulted by the chess joker, or whatever his name is, the Riddler. He by bringing up the fact that I played Magnus, he said it was a humble brag, and I was very disturbed by that. I was like, look, come on, I'm very modest. Don't accuse me of humble brag. I'm easily insulted. Now you're very hurt by the obviously I touched a sensitive subject with the caveman thing. Um, you're still processing. It's okay. It's normal. All right, we've got next game. Sung Prism. Julie Louise Dreyfus, right? She never seems to get older. A little bit like Susan Polgar. Very good at what is that? Photoshopping. All right. So we've got what here? Malby 1976 against Sung Prism. If there was any story to this game, I don't believe so. Okay. So this is actually played in a Lichess tournament. This is not an over the board game. Sung Prism is here or not, I don't know. D4, knight of 6. He's been playing the Nimzo. Boom. And now E3. Now that's interesting. You know, this used to be the main line, but in today's fast food chess culture, I would think that E3 has probably dropped a lot in terms of popularity. I don't see it that much. And it's been a problem for me because I don't get as much practice against this line. What used to be the main line of the Nimzo, I seem to perform worse against things that I don't face very often because obviously, you know, you need practice. But okay, D4 players are different than E4 players. Plus the guy's Malby 1976, so he's probably almost as old as me. People know. All right, positional line E3. Now castles. My preference is for C5, but I also think castles is good. The problem with castles is 92. So it's like pick your poison. You just have to know the lines. If you castle 92. Interesting idea for black. Rook E8. This is actually a good line. So anyways, castles, he plays knight F3. Now, black's normally going mostly C5. B6 is good. Nimzo. So you got 3 good choices. 4, really. You can even play D6. You know, interesting thing here, you can play bishop C3 check directly too. Sometimes that's seen. It's not that bad here to unprovoked take on C3. Look, the score is quite good actually with this move. You know, I think with the knight on F3, it's reasonable to do that. Probably even rook E8 is a move. But I prefer B6. You play D5. Okay. So now we've got another kind of Nimzo. This some places is referred to as like the Tal variation, I think. Gligorich, in his iconic book on the Grunfeld, the first really comprehensive book in English, talks about this is Tal's variation, but it's actually a kind of Rogozin, right? Right. But back in the day when the Rogozin wasn't popular, it needed its own name. Now Rogozin is like a really trendy thing. Anyway, it's like white played E3 against the Rogozin. Sure, fine, okay. White to move. So I don't think the CD is that good unless black has played B6, like in the Queen's Gambit. So normally we're going to see bishop D3 now, kind of the main line. And here you have a zillion options. This is This is going back into Nimzo main line if you play c5. D takes c4 is another line. b6 is another line. Probably even knight on bd7 is a move. What did you do? You played b6. So this is... They're giving this a Schlechter defense name. But basically black is playing kind of a... I lost once this is against Alexander Lesiege in the tournament in Venezuela in 1999. Continental Championship. I think the only time I ever played this line, I never had a good score with d5 structures in the Nimzo. I lost that game pretty standard fashion. The only time I ever played this position. Nowadays, I don't know. I think I mostly played this, like takes in c5. It can transpose to a Panov, like bishop b4 Panov. But there are also Karpov played like this. I mean, you have like knight bd7. It's a lot of options for black. I wonder if even b6 is reasonable here. Yeah, you can even play b6. So this is kind of stodgy, but it's certainly playable. The 51st state of Venezuela. I thought Canada was 51st state. Greenland is 52. Venezuela is 53. Iran is 54. All right. b6, and now white plays c takes e. He doesn't have to. Normally, I think it's fine to do that. E takes d. This is the solid way to take, right? Keeping the strong pawn on d5. And this is probably the position I lost against the Siege. But he definitely didn't play h3. I mean, white is clearly playing h3 because my assumption would be like a fear of bishop g4, but don't assume anything. Oh no, Cuba is the 54th state. Iran's 55. My bad. Okay, c takes d5, e takes d5. White here playing h3. Notice that's never been played in any of these master games. I'm under the assumption that the h3 is about preventing bishop g4. Gobble roll mops! This looks wrong. White's queen is on b3. Spielman is not responsible here. But when the opponent plays h3, my thinking is that they're playing prophylactically to prevent bishop g4, but maybe they're just attacking like an idiot or something. I mean, I see people do all kinds of crazy stuff. They'll castle queenside. Castles is the main move. And then, like my game against Alexander, there was something involving bringing the bishop back to d6, but then you have to watch out for knight b5. So this is quite interesting. Black can actually play bishop a6 here, a la Ante Burkic, who did this to me in an actual Ragozin, where I was white. This turns out it's a Mamedyarov-Carlsen game. Interesting. So a good exchange of bishops for black. That's quite solid. But anyways, h3 is bad for sure. At best case scenario, it's like a waste of time. But black has other ways to deal with this position. You know, besides bishop a6, I mean, the traditional way you would play would probably be placing the bishop on b7, bringing the bishop back to d6, playing a6 and c5, and turning it into, well, turning it into a Tartakover Kolnowski whatever, attack with reverse colors. The Coley system, Coley Kolnowski, whatever you call it. Bishop comes back to d6, play a6, play bishop b7, c5, etc. However, this looks good too. White cannot castle if he tries to win the exchange of legs for bishop, so he has to trade. Take, take. Queen a4, this is not a problem. Probably not a problem because of queen c8. In the event of queen a4, black could exchange bishop or knight on c3, but frankly, my dear, I wouldn't do it automatically. Maybe you should. Maybe you should adopt a French-like approach. By the way, like in this type of position, later on, sometimes the knight can be recycled back here, back to d6. He castles, okay. Now, the bishop is not pinning anything. So, this is no longer an active pin. We can move the knight away, say, so you might consider taking it. If you do that, it changes the structure considerably. White has like bishop a3. I'm not really afraid of that. But I think our bigger problem here for black is what to do with this knight on a6. Okay? How is that knight on a6 getting back in the game? So, if you're anti-Burkich, I guess you're playing like c6 and bringing the knight back by way of c7 to e6, like happened against me. Again, if queen a4, we have this move guarding this and guarding this. Looks like this could run into trouble, like a knight e5 type stuff. But again, black might be able to defend. This looks ugly, but it might be necessary. I'm not sure we want to do that anyways. So you played rook e8. Normal move, but I'm not sure it's relevant to this specific position. White plays knight e5, and now c5. This is weak. This is weak. The good news is that we get a square for our knight. If knight c6, we move the queen, I guess. If you take this, that's no problem. We can take back with the knight. But I don't know. I don't know if c5 is best. My instinct is that rook e8 is wrong. I would kind of look at the position like this. If you want to play c5, then play c5. If you don't want to play c5, then play maybe c6 now. There's a lot of possible moves here for black. The engine says, I hate that highlight. Queen c8, rook e8, it's c6. All of these moves are possible. It's very, very close. Bishop takes c3. Bishop d6, even bringing this back. You have a pretty good attacking chance on the king's side with that bishop on d6. So rook e8 feels a little routine. Knight e5, c5, knight c6, queen d6. How do you choose where to put your queen here, by the way? Why d6? Because I feel like our light squares are a little bit weak. Here, but maybe your move makes some sense because you attend to this square, the c5. Maybe you're worried about the dark squares. You're going to get hit by knight b5 potentially. I mean, for example, knight a7, that doesn't work. It almost does. Actually, it does work. let's check this out. Knight a7, bishop takes c3, knight b5. Black is up a pawn. Knight e7, rook a7, knight b5, queen d7, knight a7, queen a7, a3, bishop a5. Rather awkward. Luckily, he doesn't have b4. He has crazy shit like this. And b4. I'm scared. Can I go home now? Because I don't really feel good about this situation. Mommy. That's scary. Right? Is this okay? Are we okay here? I don't think Sun Prism is here. He was traumatized by this game. So it's unclear. Wow, bishop d8. What a move. Lembit Ol style. All right, anyway, a lot of interesting stuff. I think queen d6 is interesting, but on the other hand, you know, this move also needs to be considered. If queen there, queen a4, you know, he's in a self pin, and he's probably losing a piece. He takes knight b8. So, all right. I like queen d7 a little better. I like this. Control. Here, here, here. And then acerbate in the house with knight b5. Say what? That's not good. And again, I would lean toward that. He's the looking both ways type of stuff, keeping the c6 square for the knight. You went to c6, but where's your knight going after that? I guess you've got bigger plans, huh? You're going to play c4 and implant the knight on d3. Okay, fair enough. a4, and now a6, knight c3, and now it looks like you should play c4. c4 and knight d3, and you have a massive advantage. So after knight c3, you played what? This is a weird move. You know, he has b3 here. Or maybe Gavel Romops, there you are. Queen b3? No, not here. Your favorite square? Queen's almost trapped. Almost doesn't count. You have the same rule in Germany. Almost doesn't count. Except in horseshoes, hand grenades, and dancing. No, I thought rook d8, b3. But no, seriously, why don't you go just c4? If he plays b3, I mean, come on. Your queenside majority is so good here. This has to be almost winning for black. Plus 1.2. I mean, these pawns are very special. That was written half an hour ago. I know. I was joking. Gavel Roll Mops. I was joking. I know. But it was a joke. You were talking about the Spielman variation. No, I got that. I mentioned it the first time. So, I don't know. Why you don't push c4? Here, bishop d2. And, yeah, I mean, Sun Prism should definitely go with the queen side and knight on d3 outpost here. The rook d8 didn't help. But I still think that's the plan. This is like... That probably helps white. He's got bishop g5. It's without a question you should be playing c4. So c takes d4, yeah, it's a bad move. The engine actually preferred knight d3 right away. Okay, ed4, knight d3 right away. But this now, It's not as scary for white. It's not an outpost. You're just threatening a random pawn with knight takes b2. It's just it's a mosquito bite. I wanted to speak Hungarian. Szúnyog cheap. So instead of like a, shark bite, you got a mosquito bite. Queen c2, he defends. So this is a disaster. You let him almost completely off the hook. Knight b4, he got the shelf. Threatening bishop g5. This is terrible. You've lost most of your advantage. Even if you manage to win a pawn, he's gonna have a bishop that's like a really good piece. Attacking and defending both sides of the board. Yeah. And so after a5, he has bishop g5. How do we deal with bishop g5? We literally have nothing now. I don't even think black's better. It looks like an exchange French. It's true. You let him completely off the hook. No thinking, or not enough thinking. Rook f e1, reasonable as well. And now this is a hard move to play, I admit, because it looks scary. You are weakening your dark squares. But another option might actually be to play h6. Cavemans are going to go g4, g5. I don't think that's appropriate. I think your position is pretty solid here. So I just don't like allowing bishop g5. If he gets in bishop g5, he trades his bad bishop and, you got nothing. This doesn't feel right. You're attacking his pawn, okay? And he had bishop g5. Yeah, he just doesn't see this idea. To just smash your structure. The dynamic in the position is the bishop versus knight. And if he makes his bishop great again, the reflecting pool. It would be funny if someone put sharks in a reflecting pool. That would be a great troll. Throw some dogfish in there when the guards weren't watching. They emptied it now. Drain the swamp. Trump is literally draining the swamp. Finally draining the swamp. Okay. Bishop g5 would have been best. White plays this. How many times has he played that now? This is the second time. Botvinnik does not approve. Central square. It's about protecting his pawn, right? Rook e1, rook e1. Yeah, I mean, you equalized from an almost winning position. Maybe you felt comfortable in this exchange French structure. I don't think Sun Prism's here, though, sadly. He's just going to watch the stream later. And now knight c2. Now, what could possibly go wrong with knight c2? Not sure. But there is a pin with rook c1. It looks like you have knight takes d4, though. And that's what happened in the game. So you play this move aware of the fact that you have this knight takes d4 tactic. The engine doesn't like knight c2, though. The computer thought you were just better after knight e4, but I'm a little bit worried about your back rank. You do have to watch out. And like it's too late for h6 because he has stuff like this. So it's not really clear after you played queen c4 how you can like defend your back rank. You can't play g6, you can't play h6. Thus you need to play this. But it's strong. Probably white plays bishop takes b4, queen b4, rook e2. And the position is like equal, right? No. You're hanging a4. He's hanging a4. Shit. So you're threatening b2, you're threatening a4, you're threatening e1. So bishop takes b4 isn't so hot. He actually has to play maybe something else, like the ugly bishop c3. And black is better. Okay. You played this, he blunders with rook c1. He's supposed to play bishop h6. That's kind of a tough move to find. So he plays this, d4 drops, and I'm not understanding why white doesn't take on d4. This guy has chances to save the game. Down a pawn, you know, with bishop versus knight. Of course, you probably have, what, queen e4? It's only a draw. Knight takes d4, knight takes d4. You have to capture, and then bishop c3. And he's okay. Yule Skinner, you're back. I forgot about you. Wow. What's up? You're employing summer. Enjoying summer. Oh, we're not enjoying summer. I've lost all of my followers. Thanks for subscribing. Everybody's dead or missing. Or they lost their jobs, or they've been destroyed by the economy or climate change. Thanks for coming back, Mule Skinner. I knew we could count on you. Mule Skinner 71. So, white blunders walking into this silly tactic, rook c1, knight d4. Now he could just take, but he blunders here, rook takes c4, and knight f5. This is more complicated. You know, you are up a pawn now. Still, white should have some chances to draw, but I want to point out the fact that your rook is behind your passer. Your knights are kind of supporting it here. You have this really strong knight e4 hitting d2, which is going to be important. The pawn has to get through d4. That's guaranteed. d3 is hard to blockade. And with your knight going to e4, he's going to lose the blockade of d2. So white is in like critical condition here. Maybe he has to play rook c1. His knight is good, his bishop's good. They're on strong outposts, right? He's down a pawn. But let's say rook c1, and then here, the point is the blockade of the passed pawn. You know, objectively, maybe black is winning. It's complicated. But the question would be, in my mind, should you allow the exchange of knight for bishop? Should he play rook d1? And should you take it? And what about this endgame where you're up a pawn? You have good chances to win, but it's no guarantee. In any case, he plays rook c7. I don't really understand rook c7. I thought rook c6, if anything, attacking the b6 pawn. And now you played h6. Reasonable. And then the caveman cometh with g4. You have knight e4, bishop a5, but instead opted for a solid move. Knight d6, knight d6, rook d6, bishop f4, and now rook d7. But you didn't do that. Rook d7, rook c6, d4. I don't know. Rook d7, maybe check. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe rook c6, d4. That pawn is very strong. So I think there's a strong case here for you to keep your rook placed behind this pawn. Let's see what the engine says. He's going to hold. He's got to draw. His bishop's good enough to hold the draw. This is instructive. He's active enough to hold the draw here. So you give up on pushing the pawn to activate your rook. Now white plays b3, defending the a4 pawn. Rook e4. Bishop e3, I guess. Maybe bishop d2. Check. King h7. Okay. He should think about bishop e3. Then you have very nasty d4. So it wasn't easy for white to find the right move here in time pressure. Bishop e3, d4. The text move, he ran into also problems getting pinned. You missed check and pin, winning. So his best move was bishop d6, but not easy to find that. He has to avoid a bunch of traps. This one is like check and pin here, and you're winning. You should have seen it with more than 2 minutes. But you tend to play too fast. This is also an automatic move. I saw this, but he has rook b8, right? And then you have knight d7. But it's something special. He can just attack your knight again. Anyway, this deserves to be considered. John, knight d7, rook d8. What are you going to do? You probably have to repeat moves there. You could play knight c5, I guess. This may not be that simple. Knight c5, rook d5, knight takes b3. Still, it's very likely a draw. I don't think you're going to be able to win with this one pawn. I mean, maybe. Maybe. But you played rook takes b3, rook takes b6, and now rook a3. Hard to blame you for rook a3. Taking is no good, I guess. Well, you could take and play knight e4. So let's see. Takes, knight e4, threatening knight c3 or knight c5. If he plays this, you have time for knight d6, knight c4. Tough endgame. If he takes, then it's probably a long endgame where white has chances to draw. After rook a3, rook b5, rook a4, rook a5. I think this is an interesting question. Maybe he should play bishop takes and not trade pieces. I don't know. So rook a5, bishop a5. Is this a draw or a win? Did I manage to see the links? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can't answer that question. I'm just being, it's a rhetorical question. I think it's probably a draw. The pawns are too close together. But anyway, the knight isn't that much of an advantage here with the pawns relatively close together. I don't think this is a win. It's 0.8. It's a draw. All right, king g6. You don't want to trade pawns, but you do need to improve your king. If you play something like h5, he's just going to play f3. So it doesn't help. This is one of your biggest problems, actually, here. You can't really improve your king. It takes you forever to improve your king. By then, his king is going to be up and in. Yeah, it's a draw. King g6 doesn't help much. It just doesn't help. You could play f3 still. Then you play king g5, maybe. Can you try this? It's a little risky. Here, that's a waste of time. Huge waste of time by white. First of all, f3 keeps your knight out of e4, and it brings your king, his king toward the center on the dark squares. So here you play knight e4, bishop e3. And this is actually an interesting question. Here he has bishop d4 check, if king f6. So you had to go probably with this move. I still think it's a draw. Well, it's a draw. It's a draw. And now it's like pretty straightforward. Should white think about maybe playing his f pawn forward? Maybe f4? I don't think it's a mistake, because what are you going to do? If he plays f4 now, your pawn's stuck on the dark squares. Your pawns are fixed on these dark squares here. This is going to be a draw. You can't play f5. He'll just liquidate. He'll just liquidate everything. So he should have played f4. Instead, he played this, getting his king further away from your passed pawn and wasting time. And now you play g5, fixing your pawns. But okay, it's not a question mark. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you should have played d4 or king e5. Actually, king e5 is better, because you have this square. If f4 now, king e4, with real chances to win. Most likely you are winning. Maybe you're winning. So g5, I mean, it makes sense. He has to play f4. That's... Can he draw with f4? The problem is you have an h pawn. Although maybe he doesn't have to do that. You know, he just goes back instead or something here. But let's just check this out. f4 takes, knight takes, king takes. He's coming around this way. So king e6. King e6, king f3, king e5, king e3, d4 check, king d3, king f4, king takes, king takes g4, and you're just in time to box him out. So f4 doesn't work. Why would I play king f2? This is probably still drawn, but he never should have put his king on g3. Clearly that was stupid. He goes back. Yeah. So white, probably wants to put the bishop somewhere where it has a lot of range. It keeps eye on this diagonal, but he can also go to this diagonal, this diagonal. So I would think like bishop c1 looks good. It's a blunder, it turns out. That's surprising. Poor guy. I mean, it looks like a very logical move. Hard to find bishop a7, but also makes some sense. He can harass you like this. But I imagine there's more than one move that holds here. It can't just be one move. I see. So the point is, this is very subtle, guys, camel culture. Why not h5 instead of f5? But that was King's Indian Defense. King's Indian Defense, you tricked me because you're the same color as camel culture. And with my no glasses, I can't tell who's who. I thought you were camel culture. h5 instead of f5? Well, I mentioned that earlier. It doesn't really matter, you know? All right. But here the point turns out to be a very subtle one. It looks like it's about black getting his king into d4, so the computer doesn't want to allow the black king to get into d4. So bishop a7. I probably would have blundered bishop c1 too. And now you could have played king d4, which is winning. Threatening king d3. So king e2. Your king is so strong, you're just winning by brute force. Brute force king. Unbelievable. So bishop a7 isn't his only move. He has a host of moves. Bishop e6, king e2, this draws, this draws. It's odd, but not this, and not this. Not these moves that let his king into d4. This is Ironically, even king e1 is a draw. Doesn't really matter. This loses. You didn't see it. You didn't see king d4, but knight f4 is also good. Surprisingly. You can just play d4. King here? Okay. Anyway, king d4 is better. But I mean, there's a chance that you can get down and get your pawn on h6, but I guess it's just... It's too slow. Now you can play like king d5. You didn't do that. You didn't find it. You have to see this, king d5, king c4. He's too slow. Can't take the pawn. But I guess in time pressure, it's fine. You kept the dominant king. You're winning anyway. And then you're not winning after d3 check, surprisingly. You just need to prepare it. Knight f4 check. I can't believe that king c4 is no good. Wow. Not an easy endgame. This deserves too much energy to devote to this study of this endgame. I can't, but I can't really criticize you for playing king c4. It looks like a good move. Controlling the d3 square. White is somehow hanging on here. This move isn't necessary right away, for sure. d3 is kind of committal. We're in bad time for sure now. Pretty obvious try. And now we're threatening like d2, but is it enough? Doesn't look like it's easy. That bishop is defending. It's a menace. He's holding d2. Knight b3. The king and pawn endgames are really important now. I don't think you can win, even if you have the opposition. King d2, king d4, king e2. You can't make progress. It doesn't look like you're winning. Unbelievable. Here, here. Obviously, d2 is a draw. That loses. Wow. So you defended your pawn. You're able to penetrate with your king to c2. That's crazy. And now it's a draw again. Yeah, well, very complicated endgame. Not easy to calculate this with your flag hanging. But apparently this is winning. He's not really threatening anything. I mean, f5 is a threat, but it's too slow. I guess your threats are too immediate. That would be my only fear. f5. Tying you down. It's the best try, clearly, for white. So, after this, it's too simplified. Now it's a draw. He's going to just sack his bishop for the last pawn. He should have been able to sack his bishop for the last pawn. And now you're threatening knight c3. What does he do? Miss it? He misses it. So this is an instructive position. The threat is knight c3, blocking white from sacrificing the bishop. So you have to find bishop e1. It's not hard to find it because it's the only move. The point is, if he goes here, you go back. You can't make progress. So he just like auto took here, and then knight c3 and resigns. Okay. Anticlimactic finish based on time pressure, but white was the one with 2 minutes. Very bad time management. g5, is there still hope here? g5, d2. Bishop takes c3 question mark? Well, I don't think it matters. If g6, d1, we're up queen. All right. So e10 is next, and then Baker, Nagar, Herman. And then whoever's next after that. Okay, so this is on the Evil FIDE website. By the way, the FIDE president was in Moscow meeting with Karpov at some business business meeting. This guy should not be president of the International Chess Federation. Dvorkovich. You want to know something really creepy? He popped up in my Facebook friends suggestions last week for like the first time ever. Suddenly, Dvorkovich is popping up in my Facebook friends suggestions, along with Magnus Carlsen. But I wouldn't even bother to friend Magnus Carlsen because he's too popular. I'm not big enough. I wouldn't want to friend Magnus. He's too good for me. But Dvorkovich needs to go. He's like Infantino. He's worse than Infantino. He's allied with the Kremlin. I mean, this guy needs to go. Anyway, the reason I bring it up is because the following game was played on the Evil Fide website. Wei Yi was a suggested friend for you. That's funny. Magnus keeps popping up. We have like 2 or 3 mutual friends. Magnus is very selective. But I know. Once I tried to friend Karpov, but that was before the invasion of Ukraine. But he didn't answer. He didn't reply. I was curious what would happen. Sometimes like these old people, they just accept you and they don't even know who you are. I was just curious what would happen. But Dvorkovich needs to go. Okay, game from Fide website. Evil Fide. Iatan versus Ro Pujeda. The ratings here, I guess, are lower than on this site. They're like Fide ratings or whatever, I guess. I mean, I think Iatan said it was an Arena FM or something like that. So Black is Arena FM, which means nothing. But it might. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're good. It just might, I know some really bad players who are Arena FMs. They just paid to be, Facebook friends with Dvorkovich. So d4, c5, d5, e5. That's annoying. I almost lost to a guy. Shockingly, in the last round of the World Senior 2 years ago, this guy, not the real Georgiev, played this against me. It was the last round. I was like unmotivated and almost lost to him. It is a little bit annoying, but I think that white should play knight c3 or e4, not c4 here. You see the main move on the opening spore is e4. E4 is principled because you may be like, well, what about f5? I'm not sure f5 is a good move for black anyway. So I think I played this. We're not afraid of f5. Oddly, that move has never been attempted. The point is e4. And then d6, bishop b5 check, I guess. The transposition. All right, Ivo Ney just died. The old school grandmaster. d4, c5, d5, e5. So you played c4, transposing to check Benoni. But I think this is our best bet. Because we keep the c4 square for the pieces, and you don't block your bishop in. So a lot of people don't know this. Still not easy. Often leads to very close positions, but my preference would be not to play c4. I think it's even better than the check Benoni. Now you're transposing to check Benoni, or possibly a kind of King's Indian. Igor Foigl used to do these like weird King's Indian, check Benoni type things with like g6 and e4 is better than c4. c4 is still good. d6, now it's a mainline check Benoni. Knight c3 or e4. And now f5. See, this is the kind of move that people are tempted to play, but I think it's not that great for black. One interesting move after f5 for you, which is really radical but worth considering, would be to go like wing gambit style on this guy with g4. This is probably not 100% sound, but I think that it would be a dangerous line. Velimirovich would probably approve. Korchnoi. So we're playing Ponte's pawn h3. It's like a Dutch, basically. Let's see what the engine says. Yeah, engine says it's sound. g4 is sound. So another interesting move here. Knight h3. Because there's always like that. What did you do, though? You played e4. This is like the main move. This is correct. If they try to close it with f4, you crack them. You crack their crab shell with g3. So they can't close it up. Black's best move, I don't know. Knight f6, g6. The question is, after they keep the tension, what's the best move? You took an f5. I think I had this game once. Here, let me check. No. Well, yeah. I mean, I won't allow the check Benoni if I'm given the chance to play. I could have gotten this position from pure check Benoni though. I will play e4 rather than c4. But I would have sworn I've had this before. Probably just not a game that was rated. Probably an unrated game. So now what does black do? Do they play e4? Or they try to play something really ugly like queen d7? He played queen d7. But I mean, e4 at least would gain a tempo. There you have what? Queen e2, but queen e7. I don't think this is great. Playable though. The pawn might be a bit overextended, but it might be a better try than what he does, which is queen d7. Okay, so his knight can go to a6, c7. I'm not exactly sure what White's best move is. Now, can you play knight f3 or you get forked? I think this is a standard like move in this type of structural situation, you know. Usually knight e2, focusing on the white squares. White is clearly better. But I suppose this exchange is fine. There's a drawback that you give him a square for his knight. But objectively, maybe black should be angling for that anyway. But this, for me, this is a bit weird. Like, you're just randomly proposing a trade of queens. I suppose it's okay, you know, but I wouldn't even exchange on f5. I would just play knight e2 here. Any sort of exchange should slightly help black reduce his cramp. So after this, like, you're better. Let's say he tries like g6 maybe. But I don't like what black does now. I mean, this is worse than Tartakover. He avoids the exchange of queens with queen g6. But he's the one with less space. it's a very anti-strategic thing to do. Some people try to force things, but this is like too aggressive. 92, excellent, right here. Knight a6, as I mentioned, that, but also that. But it's like, once you castle, it doesn't matter. Knight b4 is probably not a big deal. So here you played a3. I don't know if it's necessary to play a3. It's definitely not, it's most likely not a bad move. You might have a b4 break later. Not a lot of downside. But I'm not sure you have to necessarily. I guess this is a problem though, getting in here and getting into d4. So okay, you stop him, a3, bishop e7, castle, castle, and now he's on the f file, so it looks like a Latvian. You have queen h3, then black probably knight c7. You have knight g3, f5 square. I think you should be considering f4, but again, you're offering a trade of queens. The opponent is irrational again. Although he has no obviously good move. He can't let you trade on g6. So queen g3 isn't just about offering exchange of queens. Like, he cannot allow you to take, isolating his pawns. But if he takes, it looks bad as well. So he wants to exchange queens, but these terms are bad. So I think he's justified doing this. And now bishop h6, rook f7, bishop g5, and now your b2 pawn is hanging. But his queen getting close to getting trapped, right? Plus rook takes b7. But you also have to watch out for your queen, which is prone to being attacked by knight h5. So that's actually what happened. He did a trick here based on knight e4. I don't know how far this guy is able to calculate, but the exchange of pieces should help him. Takes, takes. By the way, this is much better than taking on e2. I guess. Because the knight in e4 is more dangerous. But let us pray. Let us take a look. Queen e2, bishop e7. And then queen e4, bishop takes e6, threatening rook a1 and taking the e5 pawn. That knight on a6 looks really sad. So knight on e2, yeah, lame. Bishop e7, rook e7. So I feel like you misplayed this position. Too many exchanges. You were too focused on trading stuff, but the exchange of darks for bishops is favorable for black, especially the exchange of darks for bishops. So this whole plan would I don't know about bishop h6. I think it may not be good. Here you could have played rook d1, but now this is still an issue. Now your rook hanging. So here, yeah, maybe you had something better here, but I don't know what. Rook b1 is also awkward. Your knights are awkward. Queen c2 was a good move. Queen h3 maybe. I was also looking at queen h3 right away. But yeah, his queen is annoying on this diagonal. Here, you got to find something better, it looks like. Okay, this ends up being equal. Your c4 pawn is hanging. How do you defend it? Your knight is hanging. Rook f7. Wow. And now knight f5. Double threat. Very well calculated. Knight h6, knight d6. 96, 96. He can afford to lose e6, but he can't afford to get forked. So how in the heck does he defend? Looks like queen f4, 96. Queen f4, 96, king f8. Can he do this? So, what's happening there? You got nothing special. Knight h6 check, king f8. Oh, your queen's defended. Oh my god. Oh my god. Shit. So queen f4 doesn't work either. Wow. So he's like, okay, what if he plays king f8 first? Still doesn't work. So he's just screwed. Rook d7. Ah, the only move. Yep. He has rook d7. The computer. It's easy to find rook d7 once you look at the engine. It was an obvious move. I should have seen it. Avoids knight h6 and defends e6. You have full compensation, but it's not clear. This way, he loses the exchange. Yeah. The other question is, like, you could have gone here. I'm not sure which way was better. Your queen is placed very actively. You have threats of rook d1. I suspect this might have been better. I'm pretty certain, actually. Because the way you win the exchange here, after takes, his queen gets out of the way, and it guards, e7 in the 7th rank. He's kind of hanging on a little bit better here than in the first position, but I think you're probably winning either way. So f4. I would play rook d1. Put some pressure on that pawn, f4 is probably good too. It was unnecessary. You're winning in any case. Yeah. All right, good game. This opening is not really recommended. It's not easy to play. All right. Baker Nagar Herman. Adam Baker Chestnut. So, welcome, guys. 7 viewers. Did you bring your grandma? I don't know where everyone is. Kriv Chess has followed. That was yesterday. WKN has followed. Why am I just getting these notifications now? Mule Skinner has resubscribed, thank God. So this game is Camel Culture National Master. May, July. The May-July Baker Nagar Herman. 2 Caveman Chess. Camel Caveman. Caveman Clutcher. Okay, so what are we doing here? No Caro Khan. E4, E5. Michael Adams. Michael Adams doesn't need to play like a caveman. Aggression. Controlled aggression. Controlled aggression. No caveman, just controlled aggression. Just think controlled aggression. Knight f3, knight c6. Now we're hoping for bishop e5. What are you going to play at bishop e5? You're going to play a6? The Schliemann is good for a caveman. If you like cavemans, you should play f5. That takes a lot of study. But he plays bishop c4. Yeah, this makes my heart sink. Bishop c4 is so annoying. Oh, man. All right. You know, there's this funny move here that this kid played against me, and no, it's been a while ago. It was like after COVID, around 2022, 2023. Gombots Ferenc Jr., he would always respond to bishop c4 with d6. And I never played the Italian game, but I tried. I tried to play an Italian game. It was like the third Italian game of my life, and I lost. So I got my knight on h6 or something, and then I let it get like trapped. One of those knights that's like hanging around in the opponent's position. But something I never really clearly understood here, this d6. Do you understand d6? Does anybody understand this move? d6? It's not exactly the Hungarian defense. But look at these. Look at these peoples playing it. Carlsen, Caruana, Ivanchuk, Artemiev, Van Forest. One could almost say it has a little mini trend going on there. I don't exactly know how to handle it, you know, with white. I think it might be better than the Hungarian defense because you don't commit your bishop to e7. It's not great. All right, anyway, something to think about as an alternative because we don't have a lot of alternatives. That's the problem with black's position. You don't have a lot of alternatives. You can play knight f6, bishop c5, or bishop e7, or d6. Everything else is bad. g6 is bad. h6 is bad. You know, you didn't play my knight a5. You know about this, Camel Culture? The Godfather defense? Did you see me do this? I haven't done it lately. But if you really want to mess with somebody, you know, this is fun. All right. So, oh, there's also, you know, of course, like the what's his name? Blackburn Gambit. Bronstein famously said it's not clear who this is a mistake for. Knight takes e5. That was his commentary in 200 Open Games. All right, anyways. You played knight f6, two knights defense. And now, yeah, I mean, I trust bishop c5 a little bit more. That's not easy either. So knight f6, and now white plays d3. Well, my biggest fear here is of course like d4. We had a game the other day. I had a game the other day. What was it? Castles, knight takes e4, rook e1, d5. This is fucking hopeless. Bishop takes d5, queen d5, knight c3. That's like a big draw. What do you play? What do you play? After takes, e5. Maybe what is the Max Lang or whatever? Sorry, castles, bishop c5. This is Max Lang. Maybe the Max Lang, I don't know. But anyway, that's the move that bothers me the most. He plays d3, fine. So we got our boring d3 Joko, bishop c5, the only move. And now I play c3, main line. Now you play d6. So I don't know what black's best move is. But, you know, there are a lot of proponents for this, like, a5 type stuff. And that is a whole new chapter in the slow Joko. that's really developed in the last, 10 years. Traditionally a6. I like a6. d6 is solid. And now he plays bishop g5, so you can't go back. Bishop g5 is kind of a rare line. I'm not afraid of bishop g5, though. They want to play bishop g5, fine. h6, bishop h4. Now, I don't know what you're supposed to play. It's not caveman yet. I don't know what you're supposed to play here. I mean, I don't normally play this move order, to be honest. That's why one of the reasons I prefer to play a6, because, if they do this, you could always, you could even go back with bishop e7 if you want to. I mean, a lot of people play like h6 and shit, right? That's obviously an option. I'm not crazy about that, though. I like a6 better. But I wonder if you would discourage people from going bishop g5. And the second question is, do you want to discourage people from going bishop g5? Answer me, man. Talk to me, man. Camel culture, interact. Interact. So, bishop g5, I don't know how much delay we have here. Bishop g5, do we want them to play bishop g5 or not? So you're kind of engaging them, by d6. He goes bishop g5. Notice how that move has the best score here for white, based on 371 games. I don't care. His bishop is caught now. Like, bishop g4 is usually a bad move for white. On the white side of the Rilopez and the Italian game. This is his good bishop, theoretically. Bishop g5 is not scary. No, but I don't know exactly how to handle it after h6, bishop h4. I don't know what the best way to handle this is. That's my problem. You played a6. Maybe it's good. Maybe you're transposing. You can also play a5 or g5. a6, okay, transposing. Looks good. If d4, what do we do? Just humor me for a second. I just want to verify. Trust but verify. Jizbiriga plays this twice. If d4, what do we do? Gotta know what we're gonna do here. Are we gonna try to maintain our strong point? Or are we giving it up and playing like bishop e4 check? What's the deal? Do you even know? Do we have g5 or something? I mean, so Yuri Yakovich, Weird Al, played e takes d4, c takes d4, bishop e4 check, obvious continuation. I have no idea what happens if, like, king f1. But the German Grandmaster played knight c3 twice. So this is like off the wall variation. g5. Crazy. Wow. And Tishbiri Yakovich actually went knight takes g5, h takes g5, bishop takes g5. Whoa. What is going on here? This is crazy complicated. So let's step back a second and see if this is all kosher. Looks like it's all best. But no, this interesting position here. Wow, look at this. Yeah, so my first question is bishop a7. Good. We learned something here. Maybe Yuri, Weird Al, and other guy are wrong. There's something crazy here. There's a really neat idea. Look, you play bishop a7 and they take, and you don't recapture. Oh my god. Look what we discovered by analyzing. By my analysis stream, we have come up with a new idea here. You can play bishop a7, and when they take, then you play g5. This is genius. This is just unbelievable. Novelty. Lichess database, it's there. But only a handful of games. 1600s have found this with the aid of their computer. But dude, this is huge. Don't give up the center. Weird Al panicked. Bishop a7 is better. All right, that's a lesson. Anyway, we know what to do now in the future if d4. White plays knight on bd2. It's a quiet move. Now we clearly transpose back into a standard position. And here your opponent, this is not a caveman game. Your opponent now played a4, which feels like some sort of prep, like he knows the line. Where's he going to castle after a4? What happened to castling queenside? Or not castling? So let me ask a question. What happens if bishop e3, just like the standard waiting move? Aronian Adams, 2016. Oh no. White has a good score here with this move. Bro. Look at all that white. White, Aronian Adams, 1-0. Nybeck, Andrekin, 1-0. Freycinet lost. Freycinet won. Not a lot of big names here, though. Just that Aronian Adams game. And the game with Vidit as black. But I like this idea for white. Delay castling. With a4, he kind of gives away the fact that he's probably never going to castle queenside. I'm not afraid of that either. So now queen e7, you actually knew this was a line. But you can play g5. If you play g5 and white plays bishop g3, though, how do we follow up? Do we have h5 immediately? No, because of knight takes g5 and f7. You can trap his bishop, but we're losing f7. So it's not exactly clear what we should do here. And the white will try to they'll bring their bishop back to the land of living with d4 at some point, right? Castles. Queen e7. So this is also possible. You play queen e7 right away. That has several purposes. It gives you knight d8. It supports bishop e6. It also discourages d4 by putting pressure on e4. There's no knight. Well, there is knight e5. I mean, knight f1, knight e3, knight e5, or knight f5. You're going to have to watch with your queen there. This is not a guarantee that our queen is safe from harassment later on. So white castled now, and that's the main line. Obviously, a lot of people are going to play b4. Firouzja Carlson Anand. If b4, we play g5, white goes back. And then the question is, what exactly should black do? I'm not convinced by knight h5. Knight h5, knight e5, knight g3, knight c6, knight h5. This doesn't work. Why? Knight g3, knight c6, and then smackaroonie. There's a bishop f2. Oh, good to know. All right. You got to know these little tricks. Why is knight h5 playable here? This doesn't work. because of that tactic. B5. And now the other knight to H5. Black is fine. Grishuk knight on A5. Great. Easy to play. But I'm not sure I like knight H5. Notice some people play knight D8. Fearful move. This makes sense, no? I know that it's our good bishop, but still. Maybe bishop E6. What would you play? The engine clearly favors knight H5. It's the only move that like basically equalizes. Good to know. So he doesn't play B4. He castles. Now we're definitely playing G5. And now on this, I mean, is H5 in the mix now? Right? You did know about bishop F2? Not know? But now the question is H5 in the mix. A question. It's funny that knight D7 is the most common move here. To me, it feels like very counterintuitive to play knight D7. I get it, I understand it, but it's passive. I want to play H5. The score is not looking good here because of H4. Okay. Let's double check with the engine. It is not clear. Wow. So knight G5 is clear. I mean, knight G5 is clearly bad. The only flaw with this move is H4. And only one player got this far. G4 is stupid. Bishop G4 is interesting. GH4 is interesting. Bishop G4 is the most active move. So there's only one game. Some random players I've never heard of. White has B4. Wow. Just playing the whole board. That is really upsetting. Okay. So it's not good. H5 doesn't work. You can play bishop G4. That's also bad. So you play G4. Oh. You play G4 here. Theoretical novelty from Camel Culture. Radical, committal. What are other adjectives we come up with to describe G4? Knight H7. Also, feels passive, but another way of doing knight D7. Queen trap ideas. How does that work? Knight H5, knight E5, knight E5, queen H5, bishop G4. Right, right. Exactly. There might be some bishop F7 or something, but probably not enough, yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. There are queen trap ideas there. I find this position very fascinating, you know. I mean, Camel Culture joked about it being a caveman game. But I mean, first off, here. I wonder if knight D8 is playable. What if we went, fully Akiba style here with knight D8? Is it that bad? Clearly white would want to try like D4, right? Yeah, oddly, knight D8 isn't that bad, but I mean it is a little bit passive. It's funny, the computer wants to go back to C6. That wasn't my idea. All right, anyway. You don't have to play g5 though. You could even castle kingside. You know what Morphy would do, right? In this type of position, he would castle kingside, play king h8. You know, maybe this is actually. You know, this could actually transpose to some kind of like Alekhine variation with queen e7, right? Like on move 4. So castles, rook e1, king h8. Notice no one played that, but that's shocking. I mean, that's straight out of Morphy. King h8 with the idea of, you know, here. No games in the Masters database. There's some Lichess games, and they're all 2200 and above. b4, g5. Capo Rubinstein played this with black. That's got to be one of that's funny. The name is Capo Rubinstein. They're playing like Morphy. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know. I don't know. This goes beyond like preparing with the engine moves, you know. Okay, g5 here. Fascinating position. The other move is bishop e6. I mean, this is the main move, it looks like. The move that has the best score. It looks like this is the main move for a reason, though. It's ironclad. They're clearly, you know, playing for this. So I criticized the move. It said like it looks like it's slow. But if white can do nothing, it doesn't matter. You know, white doesn't have anything. If he tries d4, wow. So this reinforces e5. You're like overprotecting e5, and now enabling yourself to play h5. So check out this game, Demchenko Rager. Mate Bagi was at poker the other day. I should ask him about his game with Lagarde. This is Hungarian Team Championship 2024. I was there. Before I quit my other team. That's like the final match. Hungarian Team Championship final round. H4. This looks good for black, and Bagi lost somehow to the stronger player, but still. G4. And if knight G5. Damn. This could get crazy though. This has never been played. F6. Knight E6. Holy shit. We're sacking a piece? Wow. What a wild situation. Bishop takes e6, d5. Black is just better. How did he lose? How did he lose? He knew all this. White plays knight e1. Now e takes d4, winning the central pawn. Unbelievable. C takes d4. Bagi played it perfectly. Knight takes d4. Now knight d3. So Lagarde is playing this like a kind of like long-term pawn sack. That's very crazy. Lagarde really risking here against a slightly weaker player. Knight e5. The guy played almost like an Evans gambit. Wow. GM taking huge risks with white to win against a strong IM. Knight takes d3, bishop takes d3, just like lasting compensation. Bishop e6. Knight c4. And Bagi should have castle queenside, but it's a little scary. He played knight c6 now. Still okay. He was still okay. Queen e2, bishop c5, knight e3. And now he took on e3, and after that it's like equal. Wait, that's some compensation. That's an instructive game, though. You know, kind of grandmasterly play there by Maxime Lagarde. Taking risks to win with black. Anyways, knight d7, very interesting. Let's go on. So g5, bishop g3, g4 novelty. Now, what would Maxime Lagarde do? Well, the problem with your move is that it allows knight h4, right? The assumption would be knight h4. However, the camel vulture seemingly didn't have a problem with that. Well, there's f5. Bishop h4. Wow. No. This is the king's gambit, but he can't. His f-pawn's pinned. Don't forget. Nobody's going to find bishop h4. If he finds bishop h4, he's a computer. So if you take, he takes the queen, and he wins the piece back. I get it. Damn. Rendering your whole plan, like, refuted. Can we try anything? Like takes, rook g8? This doesn't look good. Just humor me for a second. You're lost. Bishop e7, bishop f3, knight f3, king e7. Oops. Yeah, maybe you can hold in a blitz game. This is lost. Okay. Wow. Bishop h4. Exclam. So that refutes g4. Yeah, but again, camel culture caught, you know, kind of playing without knowing enough theory. That's all right. One man's weakness is another man's strength. You know, you can play creatively on your own terms without being encumbered by memorizing opening lines. The opponent didn't find it. He found the second best move. He keeps playing second best moves. He's only going to beat you in 30 moves, not 20. Knight h4, knight h5. Okay, so now the question is this pawn, I wonder. If he tries to play knight f5, you're obviously taking, right? d4 is a threat. Queen takes g4 is a threat. But white, I mean, black, you might have queen g5. Something like that. But I imagine he has compensation here, no? I mean, this. Well, that's not a thing for us. This. All the white squares are so weak. Let's check. No. You just take here first and play h5. So everything's under control there. But that's no good. All right. So knight f5 is not a problem. He plays king h1. Very natural move. Now it's like a Petrosian King's Indian, where you don't want to play knight takes g3, and f7 is a problem. So queen g5. Playing like Capablanca, and now it's the King's Gambit. And so this is why we call it a caveman game. White played f4. Brian Wall came over to the board at this point. and said you're down. F4. That's crazy. F4 is psychopath. Why is it psychopath? Queen G5. F4. Pawn takes pawn. All right, man. I'm not buying this. I am not buying this. This is insane. I'm sorry. I really don't think so. Aren't you just winning now? I mean, I don't believe this. This can work. F4 seems crazy. I thought he would ask something else. I don't know what I thought. Yeah, obviously F4, maybe too much. I mean, he could play F3, no? I'm not sure what's happening, though, in this sort of scenario. Is the knight on D2 getting, like, trapped? This is why you have bishop E1? I mean, are you serious? Is this a real thing? Oh, the knight has B3, okay. Yeah, ask a stupid question. So you can go here. But, I mean, you've got so much control of F4, it looks like it's terrible for white. This is terrible for white. It can't be good. So plays F4, you're like, what? Takes, E5, what? So here you could possibly take with a knight, maybe. Isn't that kind of strong too? But I guess F takes is good. It doesn't matter. Like, it looks like you're winning either way. This is like, okay, I introduced you to the dark squares. This is the dark squares. How are you attacking on the dark squares? Yeah, that's annoying. Take my rook. Now what? Oh, decoy. Threatening queen h4. This is an annoying move, though. Now what are you going to do? Sack your queen? Like, seriously, going back a couple moves, if you did it my way, with knight takes g3 check, it's check, right? Notice that it's check. The check part of the factor. So he has to take, and then you take with the pawn. Now, how does he protect h4? Yeah, he gets his pawn, and then the same thing happens. And so now knight g6. But you have queen h5. Oh, no. So it's better, right? It was better to take with the knight. It's counterintuitive. Better to take with the knight. You took this way, check, king d8, knight here. And now what are we going to do? We're going to sack our queen? We sacked our queen. Oh, this is elegant. Takes, and then takes tripled pawns. That is comical. Now you have a headache. He finds queen e1. So annoying. There may be, like, major complications now. There goes the dark squares. Bishop f2. We got nothing clear after g3. We're down a rook. We're both down a rook. Still not over. I don't know which move to play here. I mean, that knight's hanging and it's guarding e7. You obviously have the other knight, but then he takes on g3. So you have to keep g3 protected. So yes, bishop takes h5. But instead he just threatens main 1, which is annoying. You manage to escape. Check here. Queen takes g5. It doesn't look good. So if he takes on h5, what's going on? You take his rook, I guess. Check. King g1. Check. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So I don't know. He ends up losing his rook anyway. I'm not sure if that was that clear. After queen takes g5, knight takes c3, what is white's best move here? Rook f1. So this was really critical moment. He has to play rook f1. Not an easy move to find. Bishop h5 is tempting, though. You know, it's tempting to give you the rook on e1. He doesn't have a clear follow-up. Queen g7, rook d8. Still, it's kind of messy. Messy! Messy, messy, you said. Messy, messy. Knight takes g2. Queen takes g2. Bishop c6. Bishop f3. Bishop f3. Queen f3. And a very difficult draw. That's a funny line. He misses rook f1. Not an easy move. But I think now it's clear. Yeah, I don't know. I would have been tempted to play bishop, to go for that bishop takes h5 here. What a crazy game. Rook e3. So it really, I wouldn't call you guys caveman, though. He went caveman with f4. Yeah, you missed an easy win there, right? f4. Yeah, he should have played f3, no? Or just nothing at all. He should have just played on the queen side. f3, bishop e3. He has a move, though. Bishop takes. This is surprising. Because of bishop f7. Wow. That's actually kind of unclear. Yeah, queen g5 was good. Yeah, this is crazy. Takes. And now on this move, yeah. You made a major mistake here, taking with a pawn. He still lost, though. What was your blunder? Knight g6, 95, 94. This is good. This is good. This is good. This is good. And now bishop f2. I didn't see this works either. Wow. Oh my God. That is a subtle threat after knight f4. Jeez. So everybody just assumes, like, white's out of the woods after queen g3. But you have knight e2. It's unbelievable. This actually looks scary because of this, right? Unbelievable. And you have another knight coming in now, threatening g3. Crazy shit. The queen's hanging on f2. Queen's hanging on f2. His queen is dead. He has to go here. And then g3. Oh my God. And then here. then here. Here. This is crazy. You guys composed this. Unbelievable game. Wow. So in the end, things were kind of crazy, but you're back in control. That was a fun game. Still he's harassing you. You're up 2 rooks and a knight for the queen. Hard to get coordinated. That doesn't feel safe. You're out of the woods though. You're probably not losing now. Bishop g6 works. He's gonna lose. Oh, he's bishop e4. Well, it sucks. So it's like a draw. You gotta assume this is a draw. Camel Culture has that notorious Enye technique. Uh-oh. Don't tell me you're winning. Queen f4. What is this? He lost on time. Oh, many more moves. Well, why can't you take on c3? You're winning, right? So you're winning. You just stopped here because you're winning. You're winning after rook takes c3. Yeah. You didn't take. You can take. You mean you took, right? Maybe you didn't. There's no reason not to take. I think the game is decided after you win the c3 pawn. Why did he play b4? Did he have to? I guess he has problems anyway. Not so easy for him to defend. This constant back rank mates and the c3 pawn is weak. Anyway, he would have lost b2. Okay, good game. Very cool. Okay, last game I'll share with you guys. I analyzed this game by Fischer from the candidates. You know how Fischer won the candidates matches against Larson and Taimanov 6-0? Well, I never really looked at these matches closely, but if you think about it, basically you're playing this candidates match, and once somebody's losing like 2 or 3 games in a row, they're like desperate, you know. So this was from 1971, 71 Vancouver against Taimanov, and Fischer was winning 4-0. So Taimanov, it's like a 10-game match, the first to 5.5, I guess. So all Fischer has to do is like win 1 and draw 1, and the match is over. He just needs another 1.5, and there's only 5 games left, or 6 games left. So it's an awful position. Like Taimanov is basically, it's like a World Cup football game where you're like down 4-0. I mean, you're probably not coming back, but you have to keep that in mind when you analyze this game, because Taimanov has to win. You know, he's like desperate. So Fischer was playing black. This is the 5th game. He plays g6 and knight c3 and plays d5. But I can't find any other examples. Fischer didn't play the Grunfeld that much. He only has like 20-something games with the Grunfeld. He played the King's Indian much more, and the Nimzo. But Fischer, you know, he won a couple good games with the Grunfeld. He wasn't as into it. So I think this was an interesting choice, because who plays the Grunfeld in a game where they have to be safe, right? They just don't want to lose. But Taimanov was so good at the Nimzo and the King's Indian, with white in the King's Indian. Taimanov was like the first person who played, like, I think he was like the first person who played the classical King's Indian with b4, as far as I know. You know, the Mar del Plata, like the bayonet attack or whatever. I think that was basically what is now considered to be the mainline classical King's Indian was really like pioneered by Taimanov with white. So he's really good against the King's Indian. He was really good against the Nimzo and played the Nimzo. But against the Grunfeld, he played knight f3, I guess, Russian variations or something. But he goes bishop g5 against Fischer. This is funny because now the best move for black is c5 probably. This is Dubov. If you guys don't know, I did a chess lecture video on this a while back. I mean, bishop g5 isn't really a trendy variation for white against the Grunfeld. But most people either play knight e4, the main line, or bishop g7, gambiting a pawn. But the c5 Dubov's move it's actually very logical. If white's going to give up his r-square bishop, it's a pawn sack, but I mean, it's very good for black. So if you play the Grunfeld, you should know this. Anyway, Fischer plays knight e4. White can retreat the bishop back here or play like a caveman with h4. But like good players don't play h4. Bishop h4, bishop f4. So it plays bishop h4. Fischer plays knight takes c3, b takes c3. So this line is known. I remember seeing like Grishuk Gelfand or something like years ago. Gelfand, Grishuk, I can't remember. D takes c4, this is like main line. And e3. So white, temporarily sacrifices his pawn. This is standard. And so this is standard even today. Black's main line is still the same with the Fischer played, with bishop e6. But I think it's funny, this position is funny because it's not really, it's more like a Slav than a Grunfeld, like these d takes c4, bishop e6 Slav players would kind of like be more at home here. White's supposed to play knight f3 or bishop e2. Taimanov plays this weird move, rook b1. And what's funny? Black's best move, I guess, was discovered later. But you can play c5. Okay, there's no big names here. But you can actually just give him the pawn on b7. There's a funny game. c5. This Casa Corley from 2019 with white. Someone played rook takes b7, and black played bishop d5. But black has queen a5 here, which is even better. So none of this was like known at the time. Even now, it's like not known. But anyway, rook b1 is kind of weird move. Fischer plays b6, which is compromising the light squares on the queen side. It's suboptimal for black. Bishop e2. Clearly, there's ideas of like bishop there. There's a really neat move for white here, though, which was played in a couple of games. It's super hard to find. I don't know about like knight e2, but knight h3. And you can see that even Mamedyarov played this. This is really cool because this is horrible for black. If you give up your light square bishop, it's like the 3 a.m. defense, and this light square bishop is just a murderer. And there's a really cool shot. If queen d5, threatening queen takes rook, white has queen g4 and mate. I love this. Here. Oops. Light square weaknesses. So anyway, knight h3 is kind of a neat idea. White plays bishop e2. So Taimanov, Fischer, and a handful of other games. Bishop h6. Fischer plays bishop h6. What made him play bishop h6? I mean, he saw like ideas of knight g5. Do you think? Because most people play bishop g7 in this position, and I don't really think it's likely that Fischer could have been prepared this deep. Rook b1 is a very unusual move, and I'm not sure there's any example of that ever being played. Fischer's basically on his own in the candidates tournament or candidates match, and he comes up with bishop h6 here, where most people played bishop g7. Maybe even like c6 with the idea of b5 makes sense too. The Spanish Grandmaster Fernandez Garcia, he's still alive. He plays in the World Senior 65 group, usually. He actually played in 1991. Okay, that's a much later game. c6. But it just kind of makes you wonder. Bishop h6 is a weird move, right? Knight f3, c6, and now white gets the pawn back with knight attacking this guy. What if Fischer plays b5 here? Someone actually... Oh, Fernandez Garcia played f6 here. Is that good? f6, knight takes c4, b5, knight d2, and bishop takes a2. So he's just materialistic, grabs his pawn. Rook a1. Apparently it's not clear. White is like better after c4. Interesting. That wasn't a bad game. What happens if black plays b5? Never been played. It looks scary. Bishop f3. This and this. Queen c8. Anyway, it's playable. Fischer plays 95, bishop g7. And there's only one other game, and honestly, it almost looks like these players like copied the Fischer Taimanov game. They played the exact same moves. So I don't know, man. That Polish women's game is a little suspicious for me. Sometimes you see games in the database where you suspect like someone just plugged in these moves, copying a game, fill out a tournament or something. It's unlikely they played the exact same moves of Taimanov Fischer, like 20-something moves deep. I see that from time to time in the Opening Explorer or database. Anyway, black's threatening this bishop takes e5 now with the Fischer Svidler style. Bishop takes e5. White plays f4. Fischer plays bishop d5. White plays castles. Black challenged a knight with knight d7. And now white takes, knight takes e4. Castles, a4. And then c5. Classic Grunfeld, like putting pressure on the center. And now in this position, I don't know what I would do, you know. By the way, is like f5 possible? It's risky. Yeah, there's bishop e4, I guess. But I don't know. Would it be crazy to play this move? I mean, Taimanov has to win anyway. Takes. The Grunfeld is too hard for me. Well, that's why I kind of felt too hard for me. Is f5 sound? I haven't looked at this. Wow. It's playable, but it also consumes time. I guess it doesn't really do anything. It's kind of hope chess, like takes, and black is worse. Consumes time. It eats time. It's a time eater. So anyway, okay, Taimanov plays this, and now I have a question, right? If you're Taimanov here against Fischer and you're down for nothing, after a knight c5, do you take back with the d pawn or take back with the f pawn? So I expected white to take back with the f pawn. You know, it's like a stone wall. This is where I don't believe the Polish women's game. Like they followed the exact game all the way through this, through through an exchange of pawns, and even the same way, taking back on d5, on e5, the counterintuitive way for white here. I don't think so. You know, probably like a made up tournament or something. I don't know, man. That doesn't look believable. Knight takes e5. Um, they just agree to draw pre-game and then like plugged in Taimana Fischer into their score sheets or something. But I mean, most people would take toward the center if you don't have a good reason not to. Like, why not open the F file and take toward the center? But this is very interesting. What happened? Taimanov takes with the D pawn. You know, like worsening his structure. But the one thing that does benefit white, kind of Botvinnik-like, control of the center with the open file here. The Fischer is actually worse. He's very slightly worse here. And it's not that simple. You know, now of course the Polish Women's Championship from 1998 went with the exact same move as Bobby Fischer played, because that's very likely f6. But a risky move that's also principled. You're attacking this front pawn on e5 at the risk of weakening your king on the a2 g8 diagonal. Fischer doesn't have to do it. He could have played bishop e4. But if you play bishop e4, there's a chance that later on this diagonal will fall into white's hands. You know, after rook b2, like, okay, it's a nice bishop on e4, but what does it do? And then later white will go here, and this will be kind of scary. Meanwhile, white's threatening queen takes and bishop takes e7. So I can't blame Fischer. I probably would have played f6. The girls played f6. Rook b2. And now Fischer makes a mistake. But this is really like, according to the computer. But you can't blame him for this mistake. It's like your bishop is doing two things. It's like guarding this diagonal, but it's also guarding this diagonal. So, like, which diagonal takes priority here? White is threatening rook d2. All you need is a draw, and you're like 1 point away from reaching the candidate's final, right? Against Petrosian or whatever. So you don't want to take any risks. You don't want to play too passive. What do you play? He's threatening rook d2. You can't move your queen. You're facing the threat of rook d2. Queen d7 loses. So you have to move your bishop, but where do you put it? And I thought Fischer's, move was very logical. I guess you could go bishop f7, but it leaves d7 weak. So it's really a question like e6 or c6. Maybe bishop e4 is still, let me check with the computer. You could theoretically put it on e4. So the best move according to the engine is bishop c6. Fischer doesn't find, because this diagonal looks scary. He goes here. The problem with this is two things. This becomes a problem, and the bishop obviously can be attacked by f5. So Taimanov plays rook d2. Bobby now can play any number of Catalan-like queen moves, but typical Grunfeld, by the way. Where do we put the queen? If queen e8, bishop b5, queen f7, there's this really crazy line I found. What was it now? Can't remember. Yeah, e4. Okay. E4, A6, bishop C6, bishop B3, queen E2, bishop C4. Well, I don't know. Oh yeah, queen takes C4. Queen C4, queen C4, bishop D5, check. White is better. Queen takes D5. E takes D5. This is still hanging. White is still better. Anyways, the game is kind of cool. He plays F6, rook B2, bishop E6, and now rook D2. And he decides to go here, which is the most obvious move, right? Queen C7, clearing the back rank for the rooks. But white has bishop G4. And this is the kind of position like most people would lose with black to like Karpov or Taimanov or whoever, Botvinnik would normally beat like the lesser player. But I thought Fischer defended really well here. He's like stubborn and keeps making like the best move. He doesn't trade on white's terms. He doesn't give white any ground. He plays queen c8. Then white plays bishop f3, rook b8, and now queen e2, threatening to double the rooks on the d file. Black plays rook d8, and then here was like really important moment for white. So apparently white had to take, or he has a really crazy move. Like Spassky would have probably beaten Fischer here. I'm thinking, if this had been Spassky, F5, fucking crazy. This is a totally logical, but also, computer engineered move. But if you look at the position, it makes sense because these bishops raking that side, you trap the rook on b8 in a lot of lines. Or you could do like pawn takes pawn first, pawn takes pawn, f5, bishop takes, bishop g3. Something like this, I think. Yeah, it's winning. It's winning. The rook is trapped. You're losing the exchange. Rook takes d2, queen d2. You lose the exchange. I mean, but Taimanov couldn't find it. So he just like plays a routine move here. Rook d1. Rook d2, queen d2, and then queen e8, and Fischer saves his rook. And white has control of the open file, right? So white is still a tiny bit better. E takes f6. Now, which way do you take, with the pawn or with the bishop on f6 here? It looks like, wow, maybe black is better. You're thinking, I have a queenside majority. It's the Grunfeld, right? But again, Aronian, Botvinnik, they wouldn't agree. Like white's control of d5, control of the center trumps, as much as I hate using that word. The control of the center is more important than the queenside majority. Control the central presence is more important than the queenside. John Watson, chess strategy, whatever, modern chess strategy. E takes f6. Fischer takes with the pawn. Computer prefers take with the bishop. But if you take with the bishop, you don't have your defender. So I think Fischer likes this defender bishop. Plus it can come back to f8. Queen d6, rook c8, a5, breaking the queenside pawns. Bishop f8, queen back. Taimanov is like frustrated, but he's still not worse. He has to win. Black's hanging f6, so he plays bishop e7. And now Botvinnik sticks his bishop. Well, this is Taimanov, but it's straight out of Botvinnik. Boom. Fischer's still groveling for a draw. Queen f7. Again, another good defensive move. He doesn't trade. He could have traded, kind of conceding some tiny edge to white. But Fischer's stubborn. He plays queen f7. What happens if e4, by the way? I didn't look at this. It occurs to me. I think that this is a clear mistake by Taimanov now. Why the fuck didn't he play e4? It's a really bad move by Tamanov. I mean, trading on e6, huge mistake. These squares remain weak. Now, after bishop e6, queen e6, these are ours, you know? And black's left with a stupid bishop and all of his pawns on dark squares. Everybody has dark square pawns. Look, it's a dark square pawn party. All of the pawns are in dark squares. And so both bishops are bad. It's funny, like both sides have bad bishops at the same exact time. Queen e6. But seriously, queen f7. Why don't we play this? What are we afraid of? What was he afraid of? Having a protected pass pawn? God forbid, you know. We're going to torture Fischer now. We could just torture him. With a protected passer on d5, white probably can't lose. Okay, we lose control of the file. I mean, maybe that's what he didn't like. So Taimana tries to just keep control of his file, but structurally he's worse. Queen d7, king f7, and then he grabs his pawn on a7. Black takes on a5. e3 is hanging with check. Now white plays e4. It's a trap, like Star Wars. Queen takes e4, rook e1, pinning to the e7 guy. So Fischer plays another great move. Queen c6 now, threatening to trap black's queen, also supporting the a pawn. So Taimana plays rook d7, and now e7 has to be defended. So black takes, and now there's no rook e1. So Fischer's up a pawn. It looks like Fischer's better, but he's not really better, because at the end of the day, he has trouble holding on to these pawns. h3, making luft. a4, bishop f2, attacking c5. King f8. Now, where do you put your king, by the way? On e8 or f8? King f8, c4. Now, if you take on c4, you lose your bishop. So a3, distracting the queen, giving that pawn away. Queen a3, rook a8, queen b2. And if queen takes c4, rook e7. You cannot take on c4 because of rook e7 and queen b7 check. So it's a draw. It's like a fucking draw. King e8, and now queen b5 and king f8. And then white tries to win. He goes back. And now Fischer takes another pawn. White takes on c5. Bishop takes c5, check. Queen c5, check. King g7. Rook f1. Now, I mean, Taimanov threatening queen e7, check. Black defends with queen e4. And that's it. It's a draw. But notice how well centralized this queen is. Threatening g2 and rook a2. So Taimanov, it's time control. We're past the time control. The second time control. Queen c7 check, and now Fischer has to think about where to put his king. I don't know, where do you put the king here? Well, I guess, why not go up to h6? There's no reason to be passive. He could play king g8, king h8. King h8 is the worst option, probably. Why not play king h6? He's not afraid. This is a draw. If queen f4 check, it's a draw. Just shake hands and go home. So this is how Fischer's often famous for like winning this match against Taimanov, beating Larson 6-0. But to be fair, you know, he was never better in this game. He was fighting and it was imbalanced, but he was never really better. Taimanov has a draw at will. King h6, queen f4 check. But he blunders insanely now with rook takes f6. I don't know what he was thinking. What do you think he was thinking? Like, he just anticipated rook a1 check, king h2, something like queen d4. I don't know. What was he thinking here? This is an incredible blunder. In a candidates match, rook takes f6. Like, he didn't see queen d4 check? Or he didn't see queen d4 check, rook f2, rook a1 check. That's crazy. He just lost this game. That's how he lost the game. Totally drawn position, dead equal, taking the pawn on f6. Almost like he lost on purpose. Anyway, the Grunfeld is too hard for camel culture. But now, when you're losing a match by a lot, I guess you start to lose your mind or something. It's a long game. Funny hallucinations happen. But Fischer didn't really deserve to win the match 6-0. I mean, he needed some help to do that. So, anyway, I thought it was a good Grunfeld. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. We're going to be back tomorrow. Thanks for all the multitude of donations and follows and subscriptions. Things are really thriving here on Lichess and Twitch. Thanks to Mule Skinner for resubscribing. Don't forget to donate. We had a lot of donations this week, so try to cut back a little bit on that. And otherwise, I'll see you guys for Blitz stream on Sunday. Friday tomorrow, and then Simul on Sunday at 6:30. Of course, my flagship stream. Note that flagship is not related to fellowship. They're different things. It's not the Fellowship of the Ring. Flagship is like the leading ship in the fleet. Flagship stream, not the Fellowship of the Ring reference. Anyway, we'll see you guys Friday, Blitz, Sunday, Simul. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And bye-bye. Bye-bye.